Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amy, and today we are continuing with our male romance tropes. Today we are doing enemies to lovers, or hate to love relationships kind of thing. I'll start off with some of the ones that I have already mentioned on my channel, but maybe haven't mentioned them in a while, except for this very first one, because I talk about this series a lot. If you haven't guessed already, it's the third series by Charlie Cochet. The first book in the series is Hell and High Water. This is Sloane and Dex's story. This is pretty much the backbone of the series. This is where it all began with Dex and Sloane and their relationship and how it grew throughout the series. It's my absolute favorite, but you already know this. But anyway, Dex and Sloane, well, Dex, not so much Dex as more Sloane. Sloane was not having Dex. He was not interested in it. Dex was just a little bit too much for him, just a little bit too high strung, just a little bit too much. And he tried his hardest to hate Dex. But Dex, being Dex, crept into the crevices of Sloane and got himself in there, and there was no way Sloane could resist. I love in this book how their first encounter, like their first hookup encounter, I guess, is more out of just anger and tension with each other, and then it just grows from there. I loved that about this first book, and just how we're getting all of that right away. And it's a little bit of a slow burn in the beginning. We have to get to know Dex and Sloane's characters before we jump right into their relationship, which I love about this series. Charlie Cochet did a wonderful job of putting her characters out there and getting you to love each and every one of them. So they pretty much each have a book after maybe the fourth book, and then it kind of goes back to Dex and Sloane. Dex, like I said, Dex and Sloane are the backbone of this series. But yeah, in the beginning, Sloane did not like Dex at all. He did not want anything to do with the guy. He tried his hardest to stay away, but like I said, Dex is just a charmer. Another book that I mention a couple times on my channel is Timing by Mary Calmay, or I think that's how you say it, Calmay. But this is truly a hate to love story. I highly recommend it. It's a series. I believe there's 3 books, but this is what starts it all. So this is the story of Stefan and Rand and how their relationship began. They actually knew each other for years because Stefan was, or has been, best friends with Rand's sister for as long as they can remember, and he is the best man, I think, in her wedding or something like that. And they have just truly hated each other. They've just always butted heads. But you find out a little later why, with Rand's story of why they kind of butt heads. Has to do with maybe a little bit of jealousy on Rand's part, and just Stefan just figured that Rand hated him because he was gay, and Rand is your typical tough guy. He's a cowboy. He doesn't come across as the gay type, and Stefan all these years just thought he hated him because he was gay, and but Rand has a different story to tell. So it's, like I said, it's one of my favorite enemy to lovers story. Next is Top Secret by Serena Bowen and Elle Kennedy. One of my top favorite love story, enemies to lovers kind of love story. But this one also involves a story of them not really knowing who each other are in the beginning. So it's very just exciting to see, because you know who they are, and you know that they know each other, and you're just waiting for that moment when they find out who each other is. Does that make sense? So this is Keaton and Luke's story. Keaton is your average jock. He has a girlfriend, and the girlfriend is looking for a little bit of fire in their relationship. So for her birthday, she wants to throw in a third party. And this third party that she wants is, of course, a guy. Keaton, I guess, being the great boyfriend that he is, I don't know, starts to look for a companion for the bedroom for both of them. And he ends up going on this hookup app or whatever, and this is where he comes across Luke. Of course, he doesn't know it's Luke. Keaton and Luke actually hate each other at this point. Keaton is, I believe, the president of their current frat house They're both in college, and Luke is campaigning against him for the presidency because Luke is struggling to kind of keep himself in school, and really having free housing would be the best for him because it's just very expensive to live within means of the college. So he's trying his hardest to compete with Keaton to get this position. And so, you know, they've been butting heads. And Luke is also, I believe he's bisexual. So they only know each other as like handles. So they don't know who each other actually is. Keaton's never been with a guy, so he's doing it for his girlfriend. He puts it out there. He's like, so here we go. This is what I'm looking for. So he gets a response from a Center 3 and saying that he's willing to be the third party. So they kind of start to get to know each other over the app. They start kind of growing fond of each other, and this is when Keaton starts to question his sexuality. And this is also a good candidate for first time with a guy kind of trope, which is, I think it's my absolute favorite trope out there for male-male romances. But it was just really fun seeing how the two guys connect over the hookup app, and then seeing what happens when they realize who each other is, and how things grow from there. And it's just so much fun. It's one of my favorite. Enemies to lovers. To me, it has everything. Enemies to lovers. They sort of become a little bit of friends, and then you have your so-say straight guy that's kind of coming to terms with there may be more to his sexuality than just being straight. So it's got it all for me. I loved it. If you haven't read it yet, I highly recommend it. Another good one is Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuestion. This is such a fun book because we have two sort of royals coming together. We have the president's son, who the president is female, which is absolutely amazing to read about. And then you have the Prince of England, and they pretty much sort of hate each other, or so they think they hate each other, until an incident makes them sort of have to come together and make the world seem to look at them as like they are okay with each other, that they're good friends, they're good buddies, but really they are not too crazy about each other. But then through that kind of scenario, they start to realize that they may be actually fond of each other, and they start to experiment with that. And it's just fun. They have to go back and forth from country to country with each other, and they're kind of keeping it on the down low. It's just a fun read. Another good one, this is IRL by Lucy Lennox, or In Real Life. This is Connor and Wells' story. Wells comes across as a controlling, egotistical, SOB kind of guy. Connor is just your typical nerdy kind of guy. But they butt heads as far as like business goes. I don't really know where the whole business thing fits in, but I know they butt heads because of a whole business thing. Connor knows he's going to be meeting with Will, so he goes on like this business trip. But he starts his night off at the hotel bar, and him and the bartender kind of exchange little whatnots or whatever. And being that he's a little tipsy and start feeling it, he decides he's going to text the bartender. Little does he know that he sends the text to Wells. Wells figures it out before Connor does. I believe it was just super fun to see how their little banter went back and forth when Wells knows who Connor is, and that the text came from him from the night before when they finally meet up in the meeting or whatever. It's just fun to read how Wells goes with the flow and to see how Connor's going to end up reacting when he figures everything out. So it was just a fun story. I enjoyed it. Highly recommend it. I have like 5 more books that I've never mentioned on my channel. So the first one is A Forced Silence by Kate Ashwood. Am I saying that right? Yes, Kate Ashwood. This is a story between Adam and Sam, and they were high school rivalries, I think. Sam was out in high school and sort of like on the nerdy side, and Adam always kind of made fun of him in high school. And Adam's never come out as gay, but seems that he is. Sam's like a forensic pathologist or something like that, and Adam is a paramedic. So I think Sam ends up taking this job, and he goes out with one of his friends or coworkers that he works with, and Adam happens to be there. Adam kind of approaches Sam, but Sam's kind of like, no, you know, you were an ass to me in high school. I don't want to fool with you now, you know, whatever. But Adam doesn't give up. He's very, very persuasive, and him and Sam sort of form this secret little relationship. You know, there's always tension in a secret relationship, so incidents happen that makes Adam have to come out. So it's just another fun little story that I enjoyed. Next we have Facing West, also by Lucy Lennox. A lot of Lucy Lennox up in this category here. This is a series. What is the series? A Forever Wild novel. So I have not read any more in this series, but this first one is a very good start to the series if you want to give it a try. This is a love story between Nico and Weston. I think Weston was good friends with Nico's sister, and they've never really liked each other. Nico was kind of like on the bad boy side, never really wanted to stay in that town, always knew like he wanted to move away or whatever. Weston just never really fooled with him. So Nico's sister passes away, and she has left her baby in the care of Nico, and Nico's not having it. He doesn't want to go back home. He doesn't want to face this. He doesn't want kids. So when he goes back home to like sign off the papers to send the baby off to someone that can take care of it, he finds that Weston is taking care of the baby until Nico's paperwork or whatever is finalized. And I think in the beginning there was still some like hatred towards them two. They sort of grow together, having the baby, having to take care of the baby, Nico's sister's baby. And I think it just sort of draws them closer together. So I don't really remember much more than that. It's been a long time since I've read this book, but I just really remember loving it, and I loved the story between the two guys and how just like the baby brought them together. Next up we have Tight End by Devyn McCormick. In this story we have a NFL player, Tad Rourke. He's an out and proud NFL star, but he doesn't have that great of a reputation. He starts getting targeted by an anti-gay serial killer, and so his manager has to hire him a bodyguard. That bodyguard is Bryce Finnegan, and they do not like each other in the beginning because Tad doesn't think he needs a babysitter, and Bryce is not handling the brattiness of Tad in this story. Of course, Bryce is there to do his job, so he's going to protect Tad no matter what, whether he likes him or not. But as they get to know each other and have to be with each other 24/7, that hatred becomes a little bit more friendlier. This is Illegal Contact by Santino Hassel. I love this story. This is another NFL kind of star, male romance kind of story. I was very much into sports male romances at one time. So this is about Gavin and Noah. Gavin is the NFL star. Something happens. He gets like not kicked off the team, but I believe like some sort of fight breaks out, and he has to kind of step away from the game for a little while. And then Noah is just graduating from college. He's looking for a job. I forget what he graduated for. I don't know. I think it was some sort of management position. So he gets the job to kind of manage Gavin while he's not on the field, manage like his promotions and things like that while he's not playing on the field, and also kind of being his babysitter. And again, they do not like each other in the beginning. Of course, Gavin thinks, he doesn't need this type of help. He doesn't need anybody to help him with anything that's going on. He doesn't need anybody to watch him 24/7. But Noah is just doing his job, and he's going to do his best. But of course, the more time they spend together, the more they end up liking each other. This was a really good one. I just remember really enjoying this story. There was just a lot more to the story than just like their hate to love and then friend to love kind of situation. Santino Hassel really knows how to write a male romance. This is really good. And lastly on my list, this is mature content. This is actually book number 4 and I believe the last book in the Cyber Love series by Megan Erickson. This was such a good series. I highly recommend the entire series. But I remember number 4 being a enemies to lovers kind of story. This is between 2 YouTubers that are sort of like YouTube rivalries, I guess. So one is Trashy Zane, and then the other guy's name is Bo Star. So like I said, yeah, they sort of rival each other, and then they end up going to like a YouTube sort of convention, run into each other, and it's another one of those, if I'm remembering correctly, their first like little hookup encounter is sort of like a heated, angry kind of situation, and then their relationship kind of goes from there. Like they still hate each other, but yet they're becoming a little bit more fond of each other. It was a very fun story. I want to say it's like probably my favorite one out of the whole series, which is odd because it was the very last book. But each of the books, you can definitely read them as standalones. I don't remember that they had anything to do with each other. It's just, the series is just called Cyber Love, and it has to do with like internet meetings and love, like meeting someone like online kind of thing. The first one, the first book, I want to say has sort of an enemies to lover trope maybe. It's called Strong Signals. Yes, I'll put a picture of it here. This is Strong Signal. I don't really remember exactly what this story is about, but I know one of the guys is military, and they're gamers, and they meet, they're sort of rivalries as gamers, and then they end up meeting in person somehow and end up actually really liking each other. So like I said, the whole series is really good. It's a really fun series. The whole thing is male-male romance, so I highly recommend picking that up as well. So yeah, that is all for this trope, enemies to lovers, hate to love, relationships. If y'all have any recommendations for any of these tropes I'm talking about, put them in the comments below. I know there's a lot of stuff out there that I haven't read yet. Just from flipping through Goodreads to see what books I've read that go into these categories, I'm seeing a lot of other books that are really catching my eye. So if there's anything that I haven't mentioned, definitely put it down below, and I'd love to check it out. So, but again, thank y'all so much for watching. As always, I will have all these books linked down below if you want to check any of them out, as well as all my social medias and anything else you're looking for. It'll be all down in the description box. Hope you're all doing well out there, staying happy and healthy, as we're maybe coming a little bit more out of our shell lately. I don't know, I haven't really gotten out and about yet. I know a few restaurants and things like that are opening up. My sister-in-law and brother went out to eat the other night, and they said it was actually really good. It's just, you can't like linger and like hang out and really talk. You just pretty much go eat your food and you leave, because they got people waiting, so they can only like fill so many tables. But I have not yet gotten out and done anything like that. But yeah, please still stay safe. Hugs all around, and I will see y'all in my next one. Bye y'all.